All right, hey, it's Wednesday, September 28th. It's the Big Bash week. So we're going to kind of do a report today focused around the bash and some of the baits I'd recommend to use after what I've seen the last week or so and how the lake's kind of changing, the weather's changing, and kind of how the bass are feeding more so the bigger fish, any of the bigger fish we've been catching and kind of what we've been using. So real quick though, the lake level is 657.6, I believe. So it's down 2.5 foot. Um, Not a lot of generation right now, I would say, but the last couple of weeks the lake has come down. I'd say at least a foot. There's a lot of exposed moss on some of the rocks, bigger rocks, ledgier stuff that you can really see. So it really shows you the lake's kind of pulled down, and really what I've seen results from that is a lot of fish that we've been catching in the very backs of some of these creeks have kind of pulled out. You're catching a lot of small ones back there right now, and every once in a while you'll find one, an old stray back in there, but for the most part, a lot of fish have kind of backed out of the very backs. So where they usually go when they pull out of these pockets is they usually go on what I call the corners, corners going into pockets. Like big creeks, just the little small subtle pockets. They get on them corners or them shoulders. Same thing with main lake. They'll kind of hang out, maybe a little more main lake oriented points, and the same. The corners are just inside some of the points. At least that's kind of what seems to have been the most consistent. It is fall fishing, early fall, so things are all over the place. You can catch them on a lot of different baits right now, a lot of different lures, or a lot of different techniques and different areas. I mean, it's nothing to catch a fish in 20 foot of water right now, or 2 foot of water. So you just kind of gotta, maybe run with something for a little while and then switch it up if it's not working. Right now, I would say an hour is sufficient time if you want to run a certain pattern or a certain bait for an hour and you're not getting bites on it, or at least some sort of action. Like if you're throwing a topwater and you're getting, several good swirls or good boils, I'm gonna continue to throw that topwater. If I throw it a good hour, hour and a half, and I get absolutely nothing, no looks, no sniffs, no nothing, I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna try something a little different. So at least that's kind of how I'm going to approach it this last week. Pre-fished for the BFL that was down here. Pre-fished several times last week, and then during the weekend, during the tournament, obviously we were out 2 full days trying to hit our very best stuff and run our very, very best patterns to catch good quality fish. So I'm just kind of run down some of the things we were doing and how we were approaching it. So first thing is the topwater. This time of year, the topwater really starts to come into play because you've got a lot of fish that may have spent the summer out deep, and now they're moving up and they're going to start feeding on shad. You got bass that have been in creeks, and they're going to start kind of running the banks, different types of banks, chasing these shad. And I've seen a big feed on bluegill here lately. It seems like you catch a decent fish and he'll spit up a bluegill, or there'll be some bluegill left in my live well after the day of fishing, or just a particular type of bank we're targeting. If you get up close to the bank, just kind of look over that bank and see if there's a lot of action right up on the bank. And here lately, I've seen a lot of bluegill just running the bank, running the bank. You'll see shad up there moving around, and something that's a little different than I don't know, kind of that we always kind of lean towards is the shade. We've caught a lot of good fish in the sun, just right in the middle of the sun on a sunny bank. With them pulling the water or the water dropping, they're generally going to be more relating to a steeper bank. So if you're a good cast off of the bank and your boat's in, I don't know, 15, 18, 20 foot of water. That's kind of what I would prefer to look for right now, or at least that's what I've been looking for the last week. I've been running a lot of different topwater baits. Generally, I'll start out with the head knocker, the Crockett Gator head knocker buzzbait. The big 3/4 black and gold. You can see this one's all beat up. It's been used quite a bit. The more you use them, the better they get. The more they squeal, the more they get into a good tone that I like to hear. Obviously, you can see I'm running a trailer hook on the back of it, one with the plastic garment in the middle, so it sticks straight out. So those sharp strikes, you'll catch them. You'll catch those fish. It helps you bring it over cables a lot, around laydowns, different stuff. So this hook isn't falling down or swaying back and forth so much that it'll get hung up on cables and things. So, I like the black and gold. That's kind of my go-to bait. I'm throwing it on a fairly heavy Falcon. This is a medium heavy Falcon, 7'2", and I'm throwing it on 50-pound braid. As far as reels, I just like a medium action reel. Or a medium gear reel. This is a 7-to-1. This is an older reel I have that I spool up with braid, and I just leave braid on it all year just for buzz baits, whopper poppers, basically any of my top waters this time of year. I'm throwing braid because I'm liking to throw over these cables, under these catwalks, just in some wherever you can get these baits. You need to get it in these tight spots to pull these big fish out. A lot of times these big fish don't want to be out just in the open, especially after you get a little pressure from other fishermen, boat traffic and things. They're going to tuck back up underneath some of these docks. So just keep that in mind, especially for this tournament. You're out there. It really doesn't matter how many bites you get, as long as you get one or two of the right bites throughout the day. So you're going to want to throw baits that are accustomed to catching big fish. And this bait right here has caught as many big fish down here as the Ozarks as any of them. Other baits we're throwing, obviously, we're throwing the whopper poppers. We're throwing the choppos. Any particular color, not necessarily, something shad oriented. If I'm going up in the river in the dark area or the darker water, I'll just throw black, straight black. The wake bait has been real good. This is just a river to sea. You can see this one's just a big shad pattern. This is a larger one. The big bait, you just throw it right to the bank. And it seems like here lately, if you hit 4 foot from the bank, 5 foot from the bank, it's kind of a wasted cast. You need to throw right on those rocks, and that the disturbance hitting at them rocks, and then that bait coming off of them rocks is what's getting your bites. Because the shad and the bluegill are right up on the bank. I mean, in these rocks, these bigger rocks. You're looking for big rocks or ledges, lay down, stuff like that, that's right on the bank that these fish can get up and root around on. They're up in there eating, the moss and stuff. What little bit's left in the water, since they pulled the water, is right on the bank. So, with the bluegill running right on the bank, you want to get that bait on the bank and then start retrieving off. And most of these fish, they're going to hit you within the first 3 or 4 foot. Last week I had several fish, when the bait hit the water, the fish grabbed it. So that's telling me they're seeing this bait come in overhead, and as soon as it hits, it creates that disturbance or a little splash, and the fish are there, and they're pouncing on it right on the bank. So just keep that in mind when you're making casts. If you're fishing by yourself, or even with someone else in the boat, if you can scoot up real close to the bank and make parallel casts right up on the bank and bring it 8-10 inches, a foot off of the bank, parallel that topwater bait, that's going to be your best, most productive cast. Because that whole once you've made that cast and you're retrieving it, that whole time you're retrieving it is going to be in the most productive strike zone that you're going to get, is right off of the bank. So just keep that in mind. If you can parallel a bank, if you're fishing a bank and there's a lot of docks on it, You're not going to be able to parallel the bank, but it can be worth your time and effort to go in between these docks and cast under these catwalks over these cables. And some of the spots, it's not comfortable throwing in there, obviously, because you know when a fish hits it, you got to fight them, get them out of there. But if you don't throw in there, you're probably not going to get the bite, especially if it's bright and sunny and there's a lot of boats and a lot of activity out there, which we know there'll probably be over 2,000 boats fishing this bass this weekend. You know, it's for $100,000. It's a great time. The Terrells put on an incredible event twice a year, so you know, it's definitely a neat event, and come and participate in it and possibly win $100,000. So those are more of your moving baits. As far as straight retrieve, there is another one I really like. This is called a Buzzbait. This thing makes more noise and more action and commotion in the water than probably any other wake and bait that I've ever seen. It's called a Buzzbait. I just like a black one, and you just reel it slow, kind of experiment with it, throw it up towards the bank, and just reel it pretty slow and get that thing where it's really making a wake on the top. You can hear the rattles, the props going. You know, you just kind of got to experiment to get the best sound and action out of that bait. So you don't want to reel it real fast or too fast. It kind of loses its effectiveness. So that's a Buzzbait. That's the other one. So you got, like I said, you got the wake bait, or the glide bait, the whopper ploppers, the choppos, the Buzzbaits, and the Buzzbait for just throwing and retrieving. And then the other topwater baits that come into play this time of year that catch great big fish are your Spooks. These are the head and one knock Spooks. I got one that's kind of more of a I don't know, bluegill kind of pattern, and then I got just the old faithful bone color. You know, and those baits, obviously they're topwater. You're going to want to throw them on monofilament. I usually throw like 12 or 14 pound. It's strong enough, you know, obviously to, you know, get yourself a fish in, but then it's not too heavy of line that's going to hamper the good action of the spook. You know, you get too heavy of a line when you're trying to work it, that bait's trying to walk and it's trying to lift up and move that heavier line, which is going to take away the action of a spook. So, you know, I like 12 or 14 monofilament for my Spooks. And also these gunfish. I got two of those. One's a shad color, you know, or you know, kind of a shad bluegill, more of a shad gray color, and then just old faithful bone color too. These make a lot of commotion. They've got that big tungsten weight in the back of it. You can hear when that's bouncing, it makes a lot of commotion, spits a lot of water. This really catches a lot of big fish in the fall. If I'm not mistaken, I believe last year it was one on a bait like this or similar to this. You know, like I said, it makes a lot of commotion. It's a topwater bait, but you can throw that out. You can work it real slow. You can work it real fast. You can work it for about 3-4 foot and stop it. Just let it sit there. All right, and a lot of times that'll get a bass's attention, and he'll come up and start looking at it. As soon as you start working again, that's when he jumps on it. So the spook is something, and those gunfish, you can throw them out and work them, you know, different speeds, different action. You can work it real fast, real tight walk, or you can work it real slow, a real wide walk. Get to the edge, you know, like these docks. Fish them down, big swim platform on your docks. You got your docks, you got your boat slips, and you normally have a big swim platform. It's that side. If you can get the swim platform and the shade on the same side, and I like it when the shade is maybe, you know, 16 inches to 3 foot alongside of those docks. Throw it to the shallow corner and work that bait all the way down the side of those docks. You can do that with the glide baits, the whoppers, the buzz baits, and then these spooks. All three of those topwater baits is a good productive area to throw these if you're not going to throw right on the bank, or you can't get to the bank when you're going around the docks. Make a good cast down the side through that shade. and try to pull out these big fish that are hanging underneath these docks. A lot of crappie are underneath those docks, and bass love to eat them crappie. So they'll hang around them crappie, or you'll see bluegill hanging out there. They'll hang around underneath them docks in that dark shade. When they're ready to feed, they'll come out. And a spook or something like that, working the top, making a lot of commotion. And, it looks pretty enticing to the bass. You'll pull them fish out from underneath them docks, and they'll attack these topwater baits. So they're really good big fish baits, fairly easy to throw, fairly easy to work. So give that a shot. If you're not throwing right up on the bank, work down the side of these docks. The bigger the docks, the bigger the swim platform, the better. So those baits for topwater. And now if you're going to go down through the water column a little bit, if you're not getting bit on the top, you can't go wrong with just a big swim bait. A big swim bait like this. This is the old Zoom swimmer. You can see it's just a shad color. It's all tore up from using it. I rig it. There's a lot of different heads out there made for swim baits. A lot of good ones. I still prefer just putting it on the 3/4 ounce reaction jig by Crockett Gator. I pull the weed guard out, and you can see that great big stout hook. It just works perfect. The way the line tie comes out of there, it hits the bottom. It'll stay on the bottom, and it keeps it from falling over and getting hung up a lot of times. So it just works real good for me. I'll throw that on 17-pound fluorocarbon, and that's a bait you can throw just like you're throwing same banks, bigger rocks, ledge stuff, a little steeper bank. Just throw it right up on the bank and just start retrieving it, and just let it sink down through the water column. Maybe the first couple casts, let it sink down just out of sight, 3 foot, and then kind of follow the contour of what your bottom of the, contour of the bottom of your lake's doing, and just kind of run that thing, just let it follow that, and just retrieve it back slowly. Every once in a while, speed it up, turn your reel handle a few times, get that thing, kind of like it's running away, or running away from something that might be attacking it. A lot of times these fish, you can see them, like on a live scope, you'll see them following the bait, just kind of creeping behind it, or you'll bring that bait up to the boat and there'll be a fish, a shadow underneath it. They just kind of follow along sometimes if you just retrieve it. If you speed it up or change directions real fast, a lot of times that'll get their attention, and that's when they'll attack the bait. So a swim bait is a really good big fish bait if they're not wanting to come to the surface for some reason. If the shad are, just kind of working off of the bank away, say 10, 12, 15 foot off of the bank, and there you can see them down there 10 foot, you may have to throw something like this if they don't want to come to the surface. Your your glide baits. Let's see, I got, here we go. Like these glide baits, they're good also for working down through the water column. I like to work them pretty close to the surface, under the surface, but these are also great to let sink down. Just let them sink. They sink real slow. Let them sink down maybe where you think they're down 6 foot, and then real slow. As far as reeling a glide bait, the best way I've found anyway for me is I throw it up there, and right away I'll give it a couple quick turns to get that thing to move, and then I'll let it sink down, and then I like to just reel real steady, and then every once in a while stop. Just real steady, stop. And each time you stop, that bait will give a different glide off, and then you start reeling again, and it starts its pattern up, and you stop that reel a little bit, and it'll shoot to the side, and then it starts back up. So it's looking like a big wounded shad. You can see this one looks just like a shad, and that's a good bait. Another good bait to work down through the water column from the surface all the way down to the bottom. If you see a brush pile, throw it out past that brush pile, let it sink down just over that brush pile, and bring that thing over there. If you can time the stop or the stall right on top of that brush pile, and then you start it back up, that'll pull them fish up out of the brush. So down through the water column, the glide baits and the big swim bait. Now if that's not working at all, and you're going to go, you want to start flipping, say flipping shallow docks. And when I say shallow docks, that's 6 foot, 8 foot and less. Not necessarily in the backs of creeks or backs of pockets. That can be out on Main Lake, on them corners. If you got some docks that are on points that are in 10 foot and less of water, those are good docks to flip for big fish. A lot of them big fish, they want to get shallow this time of year. We had a real cold night. Well, I say cold night, cooler night last night. It was down in the 50s. It's going to be down in the 40s some of this week, and that's really going to cool that water down, and that's all these fish are waiting on, is to come up and get in that cooler, shallow water. That's where they're most comfortable. That's where they want to be. That's where their food's going to be. So that's where they're going to be relating to. So you can flip some of them docks like that. Here lately I've been flipping half-ounce Zapper jig, and the Ozark crawl, Old Faithful Ozark crawl. And I've been throwing a lot of them here lately on the Strike King. That's a Strike King Menace, it's called. It's a 4-inch. It's just got a lot of action. You can see it. You can split the tail. Those tails will kick individual. It slides real easy. It skips real easy. That's just been a real good bait for me. It was a good bait over the weekend. This is actually the same bait I was throwing over the weekend. Still tied on there. And that's the bait I've been skipping underneath the docks. Just try to quietly slide it in there, get it back in there as far as you can, and maybe give it a pull, a line, a pull or two, so that bait, as soon as it hits, it sinks straight to the bottom, and then you get maximum amount of working that bait underneath that dock. Then if you're in 2 foot of water, it doesn't matter. You flip it in and you engage your reel, because if there's a fish there, he's grabbing it and he's moving. If you're in 6, 8 foot of water, flip that in there, pull a little bit of line out so it'll sink straight to the bottom. If you don't pull line out, you engage your reel. By the time it sinks and pinions out towards the front, you're losing a lot of that shade or cover that you're trying to get it into. So, on a deeper dock. The jig's been number one for me. And other baits that work great this time of year and I've thrown and had some success is a brush hog, full-size brush hog on the Crocodile Gator Lock, which that bait was made especially for plastics just like this. It's got a wire keeper in there. I guess you'd call it a keeper, a wire holder. I don't even know how you would explain that, but go to any of the tackle store, any of the Fitz's, Bryant's up here, Osage's Bait and Tackle, they've all got the Gator Locks, and just look at it in the package and you'll see the whole principle and how it works. But basically, you put your plastic on there, you push your wire down through. Let me just pull it out here so you can see it. You can see that wire. Okay, so you put your plastic on there, you push that wire down through your bait, and then it hooks on the shaft of the hook. And now you can see that's on there tight, and that bait don't slide on there at all. And it keeps it in place so when you're flipping it. So that's just a full-size brush hog. I got the tips dyed in chartreuse. Looks like a big bluegill, maybe a big shad. If you see a lot of big shad moving around, or you're not getting bit on smaller baits, put you something big on, big like this, and flip that in them same docks, 10 foot or less. Flip it up in the boat stalls, flip underneath the shade, underneath the swim platforms, wherever you can get that bait, and slip it in there. Same deal. Let it go to the bottom, and be ready for a bite as it's falling. Most of your bites, 75%, are going to be as your bait's falling from the initial impact with the water and sinking. Whether it be a jig, a tube, a worm, a brush hog, your bites come on the fall. So be ready for that. That's a good one. Another baits we throw a lot in the fall is a full-size reaction jig. I like brown purple scale, and this is the net bait pecker crawl on there. Big flapper, big bait, 3/4 ounce. So that's going to give you a bigger profile bait, but then it's also going to give you a real fast fall, where a lot of times you slide a bait in, it falls real slow, and fish gets too good of a look at it, are just not real active. They may not, they'll just let that thing sink compared to something with real fast action, a real quick fall, and a big profile might be just enough to get them to trigger and grab your bait. So flipping something like this and a big brush hog compared to a smaller bait or a smaller jig may get you the bites you need for the big fish. Obviously it's a big bait, big fish. 17-pound test on a good flipping stick. This is a Falcon Cara 7-foot or 7'2" Amistad with Bass Pro 7-to-1 reel. Like I said, I've got all my reels for flipping. I'm flipping on Bass Pro qualifiers. Like I said, they're $100. They're 7 to 5, really durable, and give me very little problems when I'm flipping. They're pretty, I don't know what you'd call it, fisherman friendly when it comes to overrides. You know, just a good reel for the money. Let's see, what else? The 10-inch power worm, going to continue to work. Same deal. You can flip this big bait just like you're flipping the brush hog, the brush hog or the big jig, the big 10-inch power bait. It's also going to be deadly around brush piles, 10 to 12 foot of water. Throw it in there, just bring it through the brush. If you feel the brush, stop it, let it sit there, you know, work it a little bit. Try to bring it up over the branches. This also works really, really good for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. Throwing it out there and swim it like a swim bait. Just throw it out there, let it sink down, and you just reel that thing in like a crankbait or something. And for whatever reason, it catches a lot of fish doing that in the fall. Obviously, it's made for fishing the bottom around rocks or the brush. You know, I like it. I always like to rig mine. I got a little quarter or a 3/8 ounce tungsten weight with the glass bead, and you can hear it. That makes a lot of noise. You get it in a brush pile and just kind of shake it. If you're flipping docks, as soon as you flip it, I kind of shake the rod tip, and as that's falling, it'll get a lot of attention. And I don't know. Sometimes I think it gets the attention of bluegill comes darting over. And then them bluegill get the attention of the bass. The bass comes shooting up there, bluegill leave, your worms left, that's what they grab. So flipping it on the same rods, 17-pound test, line, you know, in brush, going to be at least 17 pounds. So, man, you know, I went through a lot of baits. I hope it helps. I wish everybody great luck in the bass. It can, you know, kind of be life-changing. Someone catches a fish that wins $100,000. It's one of the neatest deals in the fishing industry that Terrells have come up with, is that one fish can win someone $100,000. Not only $100,000, but then they pay back so many spots. And you can come and have a lot of fun. You know, on the weekend, a lot of friends come down and fish together, compare notes, or, you know, just whatever, have fun. They come down for this. It's, you know, in the Ozarks is a good family area. You can bring the whole family down. There's something for everybody to do here at the Ozarks. We've got the restaurants. Talk about the restaurants all the time. I know Branding Iron will be open over here on the west side. They're always open. They're always welcoming the fishermen in. You know, you're not going to get any better food at the Branding Iron. Obviously, we got a couple Mexican restaurants up there in Greenview. They're excellent restaurants. Easy in and out. Gas station over here on the west side is CG's down there in the bottom right there, across from Branding Iron, just up from Hurricane Deck. Easy in, easy out. They've got sandwiches. They've got you know, like deli sandwiches. They got excellent breakfast. They've got burgers. They've got excellent pizza, Godfather's pizzas, and they're very easy in and out. Excuse me, but you know, some of the other gas stations they're really tight getting in and out, and it's just a hassle. But I buy all my stuff at CG's. You know, fill up our gas, our boats, our trucks, buy our food, our breakfast, everything. They support the community. We support them. Same with Branding Iron, and obviously we've got all the other restaurants over here on the west side. Val's, chances are, um, I don't want to miss any of them, but great restaurant, great peoples over here. And of course, Osage Beach, they've got tons and tons of restaurants, nice restaurants, um, quick restaurants, whatever. Um, a lot of great people on all our restaurants all around the lake. Can't say enough about the service here at the lake throughout the last couple years, and then now we've got some great servers, some great restaurants, and we like to tip them well. So I encourage everyone to tip your waiters well that are working really hard, short staff. So other than that, any boat, any problems you may have, I want to always mention in Greenview, you got Reliable Marine. Jeff up there works on all the trolling motors. So if you have any trolling motor issues, Reliable Marine in Greenview will take care of that. Sport World Boat Center right here at Hurricane Deck, been there for 20 something years. He works on all the motors. He's got a lot of parts on hand, props, whatever it might be, aerator pumps, you name it. And if Gary and the boys can get you on the water, keep you on the water, however they can, they will do their very best to keep you fishing and on the water. So I know they'll be open Friday and Saturday. They're closed on Sunday. The other side of the lake, I know you got Boatworks over there. Boatworks will do the same. They'll do whatever they can, take care of you. There's Marine up in Lori. There's just several around. Your Bass guys, Sport World, they'll take care of whatever. They know how important it is to get you back on the water. Boatworks will do the same thing. So, visit them if you're having any issues. They'll take care of whatever they can to keep you on the water. Obviously, if I have any issues, I go through Gary and they take care of me. So, and I'm sure they'll take care of you too. So, if you any other issues, if Denise or I can help you, give me a call, 573-204-9005. If you have any issues on the water, around the water, questions about anything, resources down here, feel free, give me a call, and if I can help you, I will help you in any way I can. So, man, guys, gals, good luck this weekend. As always, be patient. There's a lot of fishermen, a lot of boats. I'm not sure how the weather's going to be yet this weekend. Last weekend, it was very busy with big boats, pontoon boats. There was a lot of boats out there. Just be prepared. Be ready for it, because it's going to be busy on the Ozarks. So just have that mindset. Don't get in a hurry on the ramps. Don't get in a hurry on the roads. Don't get in a hurry on the water. Just leave yourself plenty of time. If you pull up someone and there's someone fishing, just move down the bank. Just look down there. We've got so much different stuff to fish here. You can catch a fish that will win this on the center of a bluff down here. I promise you, I've caught plenty giant fish on a bluff, and a lot of people don't fish them. So just find you somewhere to fish. You can catch a fish that's going to win this anywhere on this lake, at the 85-mile marker, on a piece of wood lay down at the 2-mile marker, underneath the dock, off a ledge, on a bluff, anywhere Tantera, the Nianguas, the Gravois, anywhere. Last week and a half pre-fishing, I fished every bit of the lake as far up the river I could get. And the Nianguas, the Gravois, I was in the glaze a little bit, not a whole lot, but there's plenty of fish let go in the glaze. They've already been caught once, so they're not the smartest. Maybe you can catch them again in the glaze, but anywhere on this lake you can catch the fish that will win this tournament. And it's been won all over the entire lake, and especially in the fall, with the fish being shallow, deep, in the middle of coves, in the back of coves on Main Lake. You can catch one anywhere. So there's no secret area. Hopefully some of the baits, these are the baits I'm using right now in the fall. So, try these baits. I wish everyone great luck and a good, safe weekend. Until next week, We'll talk again, and we'll see you.